Hi, my name is Coach MK Fleming, and I'm the founder of the Fitness Protection Program. Thank you so much for signing up for the webinar today. And if you didn't sign up for the webinar and you happen to see this streaming on Facebook, yay, technology. It's really exciting. Everywhere at once. Woo! Anywhere but home these days, I tell you what, I can pretend. Gave me a reason to put on pants and dry my hair. Speaking of pants, if you're wearing them, raise your hand. Okay, now you can look in the attendee view, see all the hands raised. And we know who the liars are. Fun. Thank you so much for coming here today. Whether or not you're wearing pants is beside the point. The fact that you're here, the fact that you registered for the webinar, the fact that you signed up at all tells me absolutely everything that I need to know about you. I'll tell you a little bit more about that after I tell you about me and tell you more about what runners get wrong and what Build, the new program that we're launching tomorrow, gets right, and how our program can work for you. So at this moment, I'm going to pivot over in just a second, share my screen, put a presentation up. This presentation will be mailed to you later if you registered for the webinar. If you would like the slides, email info@fitnessprotection.com and we'll send them to you afterwards. But really, you should just sign up for our mailing list at www.fitnessprotection.com so you don't miss anything. Before we go any further, if you know anything about running whatsoever, then you've probably heard the two big narratives in the media lately. First one says, the running industry is dying, it is down 80%, and it might never come back. It's really scary. The other narrative is, there's a running boom happening in the United States. It's amazing, everybody wants to get outside. Which one's true? Honestly, it's both. The racing industry, which is a part of the running industry, is having a really hard time. But now more than ever, there are all kinds of people who have maybe low-key thought about this and now have the impetus to get out the door, which is where I come in. I've been running for 35 years. I'll be 42 this summer, and then I can say it's been 36 years. That is a long time to be doing this one thing that I'm not really that good at. And by not that good at, I mean, I've never had a performance outlet for my running. And we'll talk about that and exactly what that means in a minute or two. But what matters to you, and the thing that I want you to keep in the back of your head while we move through this, is that it's not about the racing specifically. I say that all the time. Then what's it really about? Now that all the races are off the calendar, we're about to find out. I'm going to teach you all of the tricks and the secrets, because my marketing people say that people like hearing about tricks and secrets and things you might not know. Truth of the matter is, I didn't make any of this stuff up. The difference between me and every other coach out there is that the expert coaches out there are really terrific, and they are used to speaking with the top runners in the country. They have a very different bend. They don't build runners. They don't even rebuild runners, and that's okay. It's very different to what I do. I'm not that different from you. I'm not elite, never have been. I'm not super special. I certainly wasn't born an athlete. If anyone from my hometown is watching this right now, they're all like, it's true. It's true. I was not one of the athletic kids growing up. Running was the medicine prescribed to my dad by his cardiologist. So let me start sharing my screen and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Oops. Oh, where did the presentation go? Gonna go, there it is. Yay! Back to presentation mode. So here are the 5 little known secrets to running consistently for a lifetime. So you've heard it said that one run can change your day, and that is true, man. When I get out the house to have anything to do, even just to take out the trash these days, I am super excited. When that thing that I do has a higher sense of purpose and takes more than 20 seconds, it's a great day. It's a really good day. Many runs can change your life. It can be a real savior for your mental health. It can be an escape valve, an exit strategy in any situation you don't want to be in. When you just need a change of pace, literally, or a change of scenery, running is easy. It's very accessible. It's the lowest hanging fruit for most humans. So when we talk about running, though, we got to start with what is running. The word itself is pretty scary, because when you think of running, you think of the thing that's going to make you look like this guy on the right. I mean, That's hard. Why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? Why would you choose to do this in your free time? That's not going to make you feel good. That isn't really going to make you feel better these days, right? I mean, it sounds really awful. I mean, in truth be told, we don't really want to do it. We don't want to feel that way. We want to be able to do that, to get to that point, and then not. So a really, really hard run is called a sprint, and a really, really not hard run is called a jog. They're opposite ends of the spectrum. It's the same thing. They are both runs. They are both valid. They both matter, but one is not lesser than the other. In fact, if you've worked with me long enough, you'll know that one is not easier than the other at all. So 80% of the runs on every single plan that I write are jogs. Jogging is the business. It's amazing. I love it. Jogging is truly what I've been doing for 35 years. Anyone who doesn't like it, you know, is probably telling you this bad for your knees and it's going to throw your back out and is going to warn you against it at Thanksgiving dinner. So you feel free to ignore all that. But also, if you're a walker, again, raise your hands. Susan, grab a screenshot. I would love to see how many hands are raised when I finally get back into the chat a little bit later. But I love you guys, by the way. I love walkers. You're already halfway there. Your transition to running is going to be so easy. If we haven't lost you yet, hang in there a little bit longer and you will see what I mean by running. You'll see what I mean by jogging, and you're going to understand how all of this connects in a really cool way right now. So tell you this, I am Coach Mary Catherine Brooks Fleming. I live in Denver, Colorado, but I am from the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, a little unincorporated area called Tanglewood, which is on your way to Defeated and Difficult by way of Big Ranch Road and Red Bull and Springs. There you go, Smith County. It's glorious. Like I said, I've been running for 35 years. I've been marathoning for 20. I've taken all the certifications, all the courses. I didn't necessarily pay to take the test or put my name on the website at the end though, but I did the studying. I used to be, long time ago, a sales trader, equities mostly, based in the Asia Pacific region. I lived in Hong Kong, Tokyo, London, Moscow, Beijing, Shanghai, all over the place before coming back to go to grad school to get an MBA from Wharton and an MA in international studies so that I could then get my MRS and stay home and raise 4 kids and take pretty pictures like this. Yay! The end. Just kidding. This is what my life looks like. That right there. That's our youngest. Whew, she is something. She is something. The baby Violet. Okay, HRH the baby Violet because she really rules this roost. So I had to throw this picture in there because the fun thing about being a runner is you have kind of a dual life, a dual existence. Most people, most of my Facebook friends, most people who've encountered me have seen me looking something like this picture right here at one point or another. I do like dressing up. It's so much fun. And that makes my family do it twice a year for photos, hence the tears. But the reason I feel the need to share this is if any of my runners are watching this right now, if any of my running buddies are watching this right now, they've never actually met this MK in person. It's a lot like having a double life, which is kind of cool. My running friends and all my other friends, they're like 2 concentric circles that, I mean, there's not even a Venn diagram. There's no overlap. They're just 2 concentric circles. And that's the fun thing about being a runner. When you think about what a runner looks like, and that's always a thing. I know there are a lot of times I've walked into situations and I've said that I'm a runner and people are like, We've all gotten that at one point or another. That's real. That's one of the things I'm on a mission to eliminate in the running world, to make a safe space for everyone who wants to be here. So this right here in this picture, this is a little bit closer to what runners generally look like. But to be honest, this is what runners look like when they're told to show up at dawn to take running pictures. They're clean. They're wearing makeup. Oh my gosh, some of these women, I mean, look at this. Look how good they look. She's wearing makeup. It's great. I'm glad you did. You all look fantastic, but this is not what runners look like. This right here is what a runner looks like. This is a runner named Vanessa. In her other life, this is Vanessa. She's a runner. The two are pretty different. Very few, if you're a runner, if you run with Vanessa, you probably never see this Vanessa. This Vanessa you might see once or twice a year if you're lucky, or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. Hi, Vanessa. This is the Vanessa most of us know and love. and see really frequently, because never the twain shall meet. It's kind of funny when you think about this is what a runner looks like. We look like this. Runners are ordinary people with an extraordinary hobby, you know, as opposed to genetically gifted, super perfect humans who are playing the sport they were born to play. Most of us runners develop an identity in high school. Most humans develop some sort of an identity in high school. And if you didn't run with the athletic crowd then, you probably don't necessarily think of yourself as one now. Neither does any other runner you will ever meet who took up the sport later in life. The vast majority of us were not the athletic kids back then and do not think of ourselves that way now. So if you think that all runners are athletes full stop, cool. I'm not going to talk to you. Just go get a drink of water, hang out for a minute while I get through the slide. So when I think about everybody else, when I think about an athlete, athletes are kind of born that way. They're inherently competitive. They came to win. They get excited. The game and the winning is really the motivator. They're performance oriented, and they're a little intimidating because they're really good at what they do and they know it. Runners aren't born, we're bred. We are made. We come to this later. We tend to be really supportive of each other as opposed to in direct competition with each other. It's just a very different approach. And that because that's what happens when you show up to an event with zero expectations of placing, much less winning. We're process oriented. We get excited to see Vanessa with salt crusted around her face 3 hours into a long run that she has been complaining about since it started before dawn. So unbelievably so. That is fun, and it can be the highlight of my week. And it's one that I miss. We need to run again soon when all this is over, Vanessa. So that, because we have people we love and a process that we love. And most of us tend to be pretty approachable. If you think we're intimidating, it's because you've only looked at what we're wearing. You haven't actually talked to us yet. So in my world, some runners are athletes, some athletes are runners, but anyone can become a runner. I don't know what it would take for someone to make me feel like an athlete. So when I talk about ordinary people with an extraordinary hobby, these are the first two people that come to mind, and I still can't believe that we got them in a picture. Marie is a licensed clinical social worker, and Nick, on the right, is a marketing manager. Both of them started running around the same time, the very first season that I was coaching down in Centennial, Colorado. Wait for it. 2 years ago, Marie went to Worlds in the Olympic distance triathlon. She's been twice. She's won nationals. She's very accomplished. And she's not been doing this very long. Nick has been selected for Team Ultra, sponsored. He is sponsored by Miller Lite and is now training with Shalane Flanagan. And I hear like she's pretty good at running and stuff. I don't know. She's a good coach though. Just saying. I'm just kidding. I'm insanely jealous of you, Nick. But that's the thing. When I tell you that this is an extraordinary hobby, once you start, you have no idea where you're going to go. You have no idea where it could take you. And that's really what keeps me coming back season after season. So I tell you all of that to really underscore this really important point. As I like to say, I tell you that to tell you this. These people, they're just like you. They are not otherized. They've not been, separate from you. They are not so different that you can't see yourself in them. They're just doing really cool stuff now. The only difference between you and them is that they have already started. Yay. And I get really excited thinking about that. So when it comes to getting started, this is, it's one of the good things about running that absolutely anyone can do it. Theoretically, you don't need a fancy gym or an expensive membership or a time and a place that you have to struggle to show up on time. None of that. And plus, every doctor is going to tell you that they want you to participate in some sort of regular, moderate cardiovascular exercise, and they'll say jogging, not running, because running's really bad for your knees, but jogging is really good. Jogging is running. Remember this. We're going to come back to this over and over and over again. So I like to think of running as a big old party that anyone can join. And you know how sometimes your greatest strength is your greatest weakness? That strength of running, the fact that anyone can do it, and there's only one door for everyone to walk through, is also its greatest weakness. It's really easy to start and it's hard to keep going, and that's why. All kinds of people will decide to become runners for all kinds of reasons, and all of them will enter through basically the same door. You have to think about what that door looks like, and how most people come into this sport later in life to understand why they tap out early. Spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with willpower. So this is how most people get started. If you've ever started running for any reason or thought about it, your journey, whether or not it lasted more than a few seconds, probably looks something like this. Google search, looking for an app. Maybe you bought a book. You saw a book and thought about buying it. You went to Pinterest, how to start running. All of these are great sources of information, but all of it tends to be the same and very, very, very generic. Because how could it be tailored to you? Those book writers don't know you. And this is what most of those people who aren't able to stay or don't stay will tell themselves as they leave, that there's something wrong with them. It's not true. When you get right down to it, this isn't your first time. Again, I want you to remember, it's not you. There is one door, but there's no one to greet you at that door to tell you that the party's in the backyard. There's a disconnect between that entry point and the rest of the running world, and nothing really exists to close that gap. This is why the first thing about running consistently is that most runners truly don't know what they're doing. And I say that because they started alone, they continued alone, following generic guidance with a generic plan and zero connection to the underlying material. And when that guidance ended, if they weren't interested enough to look for more or didn't really have the time or the bandwidth to keep figuring it out on their own, they'd stop. And that's perfectly rational. I mean, who can blame them? So again, this is where they go with all those questions. What do I do now? What do I do after a Couch to 5K app? What do I do after? And again, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with these sources of information, but they're not personalized and they don't really serve as a gateway to all of the possibilities for where you are at that point in time and where to go next. And that's part of the problem. So if you've gone through all of this, all of those searches and all of working with the app, I don't care how much of an introvert you are, you're still alone. Alone is great. God knows I like being alone whenever I can get it, and I can't get it that often with 4 kids and a husband under this roof. He usually travels for work. It's been we've had a little bit of a adaptation curve here. But the reason most runners are going to stay alone is because hiring a coach, a one-on-one coach, seems really extreme. You got to be super serious to do that. So I get it, and plus it's really expensive. Even fewer still will. What if you don't live near a running group to join? What if you aren't aware of them? How do you even find them? So, but even bigger still, the hump that you have to get over before, if you're this person who's been trying to do it alone, before you hire a coach or find a running group, is that you have to admit that what you were doing wasn't working, that you could not figure this out on your own. And a whole lot of people in that framework, asking for help is tantamount to giving up. And that's what they do. They couldn't figure it out, so they pretend they're not interested anymore. So when they become too busy or too frustrated, the journey ends. This is a solo sport, but you don't get a bigger medal for doing it alone all of the time. I like to think that this is where we come in. Unfortunately, though, most people who do find a running group and stay in the sport aren't much better off. Even if they weren't alone, again, let's say they join that running group, that group is going to be full of runners who are wearing running gear and shirts from the last race that they participated in, and expensive watches and fancy hats and fancy sunglasses. Oh my gosh, they look like athletes. They look like real runners. They'll be able to answer all your questions, right? Oh my gosh, like these ladies in the picture right here. Running's totally not a solo sport. You've got your tribe. You've got enough, right? Wrong. I'm sure these people are wonderful. I know the people in this picture. They are wonderful. I can vouch for every single one of them personally. A community is what makes it easier to keep going. The people that you saw in that previous picture they're just like you. They started with an app and a Google search, maybe a couple of infographics on Pinterest. Since then, they've run some races, maybe even a marathon, but they're going to give you the same advice that they found on Google, Pinterest, or wherever they were. Experience does not necessarily breed deeper understanding of the underlying material or deeper knowledge of the running landscape or the running world, the industry landscape or the running world. So I'll say this though, a community does make it a lot easier to keep going. So those people who joined a running group do have an advantage, even if no one in there knows what they're doing well enough to give very specific tailored advice. And you don't need to meet this group in person in order to benefit from their support and their encouragement. All of our support groups are online, which for me is kind of great because, again, with all these kids, I'm never on time anywhere anyway. And these days, if I can sleep in on a Saturday, I want to do it. Our runners FaceTime and Signal and Voxer each other before, during, and after runs. The party is wherever you want it to be. You just tune into it whenever you're ready. So again, 80%, in my rough estimation, that's nothing, no science there, 80% of issues with running consistently can be found on this slide right here. Most runners are going to worry that their efforts aren't enough and disregard the work that they've done rather than celebrate it. I've seen this thread of anxiety woven into every single running group I have ever encountered. People ask themselves and each other, they're going hard enough, and they're asking the wrong people the wrong question. Please remember that interest and motivation don't just like leave. It's not something that's fleeting that you need to catch like a bird running around the house, or, oh my God, got it, put out the glue traps, my motivation's about to go out the door. This is the first secret to running consistently for a lifetime: knowing what to do and trusting your plan. Most runners that you'll meet don't. They pick something like a race or an event, and they do it over and over and over again. They just follow their friends. They follow the party wherever they think the party is. When they get tired of hitting repeat, they'll take a break. That break might last a couple years because nothing they do really makes them happy or really feels like enough. It becomes deeply unsettling and unsatisfying to not know specifically what you're after, when to start, or how to finish. It's a dirty little secret. Run clubs are full of people performing what they think are the right answers instead of looking for the true answers. But that's what happens when you ask the wrong questions. This is why most runners can't tell you why other runners give up. It's no offense to anyone involved. They also can't tell you, if they can't tell you why people leave, then they can't help you keep going. It's easier to blame the person, to call them lazy, to make it about their character, to make it about their lack of discipline or accountability. It's also why they can't tell you what to do once you finish that free plan or that free app. They just don't know. They do what everyone else did. They also don't want to admit that they aren't necessarily super excited about what they're doing or what they're training for. And no one's ever going to tell you that running doesn't actually make them feel that good. They just keep asking the same questions and getting the same answers and making the same mistakes, regardless of how long they've been here. Now, this is a fun story. This is a picture of me running back in June 2013. Sorry, this is in November 2014. So after I started my quest to coach myself back in June of 2013, I joined a run club. Yay, love you guys. If you're watching, I really, truly do. We were new to Denver, and I definitely looked like I just had a baby. This is the least fit I had ever been. My oldest two are 13 and a half months apart, and Denver, by the way, is at altitude with third less oxygen. Climbing stairs was hard. Everyone presumed that I was a new runner and approached me to say really, really nice, but totally misguided things. They gave me really terrible advice. And they were very persuasive, and they were so kind about it. And I really wanted to make friends. And you don't do that by saying, that's terrible. Why would you say that? Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Do you actually do that? Please tell me you don't really do that. This is the sort of advice, and I don't get enough credit for being able to keep my mouth shut, but boy, I did for a real long time. Like, okay, thank you. I'll try that out. That sounds amazing. Did it work for you? Okay, thank you so much. And it's lovely, and I did make a lot of friends there, but it took a good 18 months of trying to drown out the noise and the advice because, you know, again, it was twofold. They didn't ask, and I didn't tell them, hey, I've been doing this for a while, back off. And by the way, when you say that, you're not necessarily going to make friends. They were trying to make a connection with me, and I desperately needed those connections because I was new in town. So there were days when I would put on my poker face, and I would say to me, I'm coached, I'm loved, I'm winning at life, I know what I'm doing, so that I could drown out the noise, stay the course, and shake my head whenever people would encourage me to work a little harder or run a little faster on a day when I didn't need to do that. So this photo was taken at the New York City Marathon, which it's not the marathon that changed my life. It was the way people talked to me afterward. The next time I showed up at the run club, and people had been following me that day to see what I ran. And the time in my, of all the times that I've ever run, this was the slowest. This was the opposite. So we like to say PRs in the running world, PBs, personal bests. This was the opposite of that. This is the slowest I'd ever run. I was very proud of that day though. But the thing that surprised me was that the time that I ran, 4:24, if you know anything about marathons, was faster than most of the people that I'd been running with. That finish time was faster than most of the people who were giving me that advice. Then they started asking me for advice instead of telling me what to do. They're asking me to coach them even though I wasn't yet a coach. Never forget, I tell you all of this again to come back to that point. No one knows what a runner looks like when they are not running. In fact, that's a whole hashtag on Instagram, runner not running. And that you'll find the picture of me in my ball gown there. A lot of us use it for that reason, that whole double life. So the thing about runners in my purview, what we know is that walking is good. Effort matters. We give A's for effort around here because every bit of effort counts. Work will never be disregarded. You're probably going to walk a whole lot at first. Hi, walkers. It's okay. Walking isn't less than. Walking is movement. Movement is a workout. That is valid. That is real. It isn't cheating or less than in any conceivable way. Neither is jogging. It's one thing to know this and another thing entirely to wrap your brain around it when I say that you can jog 5 days a week. It's hard to believe that running the way I tell you to run is a workout. It's no more stressful than walking. You walk every day, right? So with my runners, even if that feels like too much of a leap, that's okay. A whole lot of my runners came in and they're like, I can't do 5 days a week. I'm starting with 3. Cool. I give you the tools and I empower you to do that. We start where you are, where you're comfortable, and we have options for adding more work as you become ready with no pressure to do that ever. Most importantly, once you complete build, your options will be crystal clear. What you choose to do next will be entirely up to you and will not be limited to what you can find in a Google search or to what your run club has done before. Fitness protection runners also know what the most important part of a run is. Can you guess? Throw it in the chat. So this matters, by the way. You have to know what's important and what isn't, and what matters and what doesn't if you're going to make changes when life happens. This is how you decide what to keep and what to cut. You think it's this? Stretching out before the run? Maybe stretching out after the run? Or maybe it's this, it's the warm-up, right? I know it's hard to tell, but that's what we're doing in this photo. We're going through the warm-up series called Silly Toes, which you will get a copy of once you register. Most runners you meet, the ones who don't train with me, they're going to tell you it's this, speed work. The stuff that happens on a hill, that happens on a track. The really, really, really hard stuff that makes you look like that guy back in the first slide, where it has them all lying on the ground, like whining like whipped puppies after a few minutes of it. Whew. They'll also tell you, those runners will also tell you that the people who think that this is paramount, they're also going to tell you that everything else is junk miles, that jogging doesn't matter, and that this is the only stuff that does. So the most important part of the run is the last thing most people would guess. Follow the logic here. Your cardiovascular system is your body's oxygen delivery system, and its top priority is repair. When your body is in motion, when your muscles are working, when they've hit that threshold of work, not overwork, not panic, but just work, then your muscles are top priority, receiving all of the oxygen so that you can keep repairing and keep working for as long as possible. Muscles will use up to 84% of the oxygen in your blood when your body is working at these low to moderate levels. Running really hard overstrains your muscles, and easy effort runs effectively repair them. So strength comes from the repair, not from the reaching. The cool down at the end of the harder workout is where all of this repair happens and where the bulk of it begins, because once your body is no longer in motion, you won't be getting 84% of the oxygen in your blood. That will not, it'll be much less than that actually when you're lying down. Your body's going to do other things like digest, keep your brain running, work on, try to facilitate all of the stress bombarding your central nervous system right now in this time. So with all that going on, if you cut the cool down and your muscles aren't top priority anymore, you're not getting all that oxygen, so you've reduced the repair, and in return, you've reduced the benefits that you would have gained from that workout. And this is something, when you download this, by the way, when you receive the packet, you can click here to see this on our Instagram account. If you don't follow us, you should. I make cool stuff sometimes. So the speed, everyone in fitness protection knows that speed work doesn't have to happen. If you want to have it, you got to earn it first. And if you never use it, if you never do anything, that's cool too. And all of that hard effort is useless without rest intervals, recovery intervals, and a proper cool down. Resting is part of training. So is sleep. They also know that the only form cue that you'll ever need is the one that I'm about to show you, and that is the third secret to running consistently for life. It's easy to go hard. It's really hard to go smart. Jogging, truly holding back your effort and conserving your energy and letting other people pass you. It's one of the smartest things you can do, and it's also one of the hardest as a runner. I think there's something secretly satisfying about knowing that I could go faster, but I'm just choosing not to. A lot of people don't feel that way because they aren't sure of what they're doing. The competitive side of them, like I'm going to beat you, takes over of precedence over I'm going to get what I came here to do this, and I'm going to get it. See you on race day. So like I just said, you're going to hear me say this a lot. Running more slowly than you want to go in any given moment is the hardest thing a runner will ever do. And I mean it. And once you try to jog at 140, you'll know what I'm talking about. Jogging, it's easy effort, but it is not easy. It's a totally different kind of hard. You'll be certain you're doing it wrong, that running cannot be this easy, that this thing that you just did isn't a run. You didn't do it right. It didn't feel right. I mean, I'm not really sweating and I don't feel bad and nothing really hurts. Then one day it'll all click. Running is a really vague word, like driving. I was driving. I drove here. It doesn't tell you anything about how fast I was going or how hard my engine was running, or if I was in the red zone. It tells you nothing. It's a very vague, nondescriptive word. Jog is a little more specific, so is sprint, but running encapsulates both. So on easy days, which is basically all the time, remember that's 80% of the runs I'm ever going to assign, we jog. And if jogging still feels like too much, if you need a little more recovery, we walk. Walking's great. It's not less than. You're still getting all the critical adaptations that your feet, hips, joints, and knees, tendons, and ligaments really need to keep going and make this work for you for a lifetime. So here we go. The only form cue you're ever going to need. Lock your cage. Once again, when you receive this packet, you can click the link and watch this on YouTube as I demonstrate locking your cage. Wasn't that cute? Your body is a really highly efficient machine. It adapts immediately to find the most efficient way to do whatever it is you're asking it to do. Whole books have been written about runner form, y'all. They talk about cadence and overstriding and pronating and how the foot hits the ground, and you've got to worry about that. And I'm here to tell you, don't need to worry about any of that. It's a lot to think about. And frankly, for us recreational runners, people who are just, here for the party at the finish line, we don't need any of it. So I'm going to stop the share here for a moment and focus back here on me. It's back in spotlight. Whoops. So when it comes to locking your cage, this is all it is. We don't overcomplicate anything here at Fitness Protection. If you push your chair back, if you're sitting in a chair, get to the edge and put your sits bones on it where you feel your butt bones really pressing down into the chair. And then all you do, exhale, let your belly button press back against your spine. Once you've done that, try to draw the lower tip of your shoulder blades towards each other. That's it. That's locking your cage. When that happens, the muscles in the lower part of your abdomen will turn on just a little bit. They're not going to be, because we don't want you pulling forward. We want your lower back supported, and that's what that does. If I gave you a cue about going backwards, you would arch backwards, you would hyperextend your back, you would do abnormal things, and that's really not where we want to get to. All we want is a little bit of activation in your core to keep you upright. So here we go back to resuming share. And, can it really be that simple? Shoot, yeah, absolutely it can. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. I mean, unless you're an elite or a professional, then yes, it's quite a bit more complicated than that. And that is why you're going to hear me say all the time, thank God we're not elite. That is hard. It is a hard and heartbreaking life. I'm so glad I don't have any natural talent at this. I mean, there's nothing but heartbreak comes with that. There's something nice about being one of the fast kids. At the same time, when you're not the fastest kid, that's where the heartbreak comes in. So I am here for the people who are super excited to show up and jog and feel really accomplished, because it is really heartbreaking to work with people, and I do work with a couple who are so good and so talented, and they are so close and squeezing out marginal gains. They do everything right. They do everything right, and it's just so hard to get to the next level. Here, you don't have to do big things or even do anything right to see big results. It's great. It is really rewarding. It's satisfying on a way that, well, it'll never be again once you get really fit and really good, or decide that you care a lot about performance. So like I was just saying, this is why locking your cage matters, all right? And again, to keep it overly simple, intentionally so. So the TVA, the transverse abdominis, is going to support your lower back so that your back is not absorbing shock that it was not meant to absorb. If you overstride, then your shins are doing work that they weren't meant to do and absorbing shock that your glutes were meant to absorb. And your knees are doing that too. So you're going to wear out the cartilage in your knees, kind of like your teenager has the brakes on your car if ever you taught him how to drive a stick. You remember those days? Anyway, so when you use your arms, and the final thing about torso, if you've ever seen a person like running the final stages of a marathon, they start twisting a whole lot. They're really trying to propel themselves forward with their arms. When you have a locked cage and just a little bit of activation in your back, that's a lot less likely to happen. So your arms stay where they need to stay, and they have to because you're upright. Like you are not able to keep a locked cage and keep this motion going. So see this guy right here? Yeah, he's not jogging. It's pretty obvious. Like, this is not what jogging looks like. But a lot of people think this is what running looks like, but even that looks awful. This is sprinting. This dude is sprinting. His cage is definitely not locked, and that's okay. In sprints, your cage doesn't need to be locked. You're trying to propel yourself forward with maximum amounts of power, and that is how it's done. But here's the rub. Sprinting, you can't even do it for 800 meters. 100, maximum 200. That's a sprint. And for the world champions, that's like 6 to 10 seconds. For the rest of us, it's a lot more than that. Don't think about the difference. But sprinting is what you do when there's a hungry lion behind you, or when your toddler is about to run into the street. It's super high intensity. It takes a lot of power. It wears you out, totally depletes you. And that's why you can't do it for very long. I would never ask anyone. Even sprinters will tell you can't sprint 5 days a week. You can't even sprint 2 maybe. So here, and for this, you have this picture to take with you. This is me demonstrating to the photographer and the runners behind me the double check to make sure that your cage is properly locked, and that's to try to tap your elbows against your waist. I'm not saying they have to touch your waist, but we want to think about where your elbows are. When they come down, if they come in front of your rib cage, relax, roll your shoulders out, try again. They should land right there underneath your rib cage or at your side. It's not about perfect. It's about recognizing whether you're hunching forward and need to roll it back. That's it. But if you think too much about rolling it back, you're going to hyperextend your lower back, and we don't want that. It doesn't help. So, but again, overthinking it, not a big deal. Tap, straighten, there you go. So fitness protection runners are pain-free runners, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about why that is. When you know what you're doing and you don't waste a lot of time trying to prove that you know what you're doing to anybody else, everything gets a lot easier, and you're not wasting energy. You're not going hard on your easy days. You're not trying to feel better about what you're doing because you already feel good about it. So these are two testimonials that I'm particularly proud of, and I'm happy to send you more. Or if you want to talk to other runners who, I can't promise that bad things won't happen. I can promise you that you'll be prepared when they do. And the fun thing is, when my runners do get hurt, because it happens occasionally, I'm not who they blame. I really shouldn't have gone walking with my dog. Probably shouldn't have done this with the hangover. And not to say I'd get everything right, but jogging just doesn't hurt a whole lot. It really doesn't. I'm saying the same thing every other coach in the world says. I'm just giving you a few simple rules in all of my programs that will keep you from cheating yourself from working harder than you need to work. I will never push you. You don't need to be held accountable for anything. If anything, you need to be held back. So remember how I said most runners don't really know what they're doing or how to make changes and whatnot? So here's a concrete example that's going to bring it all together. It's Friday morning. You didn't sleep very well last night, and you hit snooze too many times this morning. The training plan you're using says you're supposed to run 6 easy miles today, but you only have 30 minutes. What do? Seriously, think about that. Most of the runners will do this written on the slide right here. They're just going to run as much as they can, as hard as they can. They're going to get as much as they can out of those 30 minutes. They're going to make it count. And this is why so many of those experienced runners at the run clubs are perpetually injured and have not hit their race times. They insist on doing every run as written, perfect compliance, 100%, green boxes all the time, no matter what, doing everything exactly right. They treat the training plan like a tightrope. They have to walk with 0 deviations, and then they're going to do it as close as humanly possible. Unfortunately, the things they choose to adhere to are the wrong things. They ignore the most important signals that exist, and those are the signals coming from their body. They will race on a Friday or a Tuesday to get in as much as possible without thinking about the instruction itself, which was 6 easy miles. They just shoot for the 6. They ignore the effort, because this is not a country necessarily that gives A for effort. We do. And that's, on one hand, that's okay. People like plans. We like being told what to do by people we trust. And it makes us feel safe. That's cool. That's valid. I mean, nothing that I'm telling you is that everyone else is stupid or illogical. They aren't. They're doing what everyone around them has been doing. And here's what you need to know about that. I started running in 1983. Before 2007, that's a long time, right? There weren't Garmin's. And Garmin's really changed everything. I think about the running world pre-Garmin and post-Garmin, because that's when everything really shifted, because we didn't have ways of collecting data before. All we had were finish times and maybe some logs about what our heart rate was when we woke up that morning and how high it got during or after the workout. But we had Timex Ironman. It was very, very, very simple. And there weren't that many marathons. Back in 1997, in the Washington, D.C. area, and you can look this up, there were exactly 4 marathons, 2 in the spring, 2 in the fall, within driving distance of Georgetown University, where I attended college. And back then, before Garmin's, most run clubs were actually called track clubs, and they were full of elites that were still trying to get to the Olympics. All of the new people into the sport would join these clubs and then follow the fast kids. And so all the coaches in these clubs have never been, much less really worked with, people who weren't those born athletes that I was talking about earlier. And again, that's okay. That's why I couldn't find a coach after my babies. I had the babies, the coaches looked at me, and now I have all this experience, and I really just wanted to hire a coach to get ready for a marathon, because I didn't want to have to do any of the thinking or the planning. And all the coaches told me no. They're like, go, maybe you should see a personal trainer. Go get fit and then come back. I'm like, what? You saying I can't get fit by running? What they were telling me was running is a subspecialty of fitness. First you get fit, then you run. And that's not been my experience. That's not been my life. And that is a notion that I categorically reject. I'm not dissing them. It's work they've never had to do. I don't want to do what they do, squeezing out those marginal gains. They don't want to do what I do. So it isn't about the coaches. It's about understanding that what this world used to be, as people flocked to it, they just imitated what the people who were already there were doing. And when you're performance-based, you're obsessed with pace and time and mileage and nothing else. When you're not performance-based, when you're in it because, I don't know, you learned how to do this in a cardiology office, like I did following my dad's heart attack way back when, the bend is a little bit different. Everything is a little bit different. And to a certain degree, it's a whole lot easier. I've never felt pressure or stress when it comes to my running. Like I said, grew up in the middle of nowhere. We didn't have a track team. We still don't. We still don't have cross country teams. Although we do have a half marathon in Smith County. It is the Bear Waller Gap Half Marathon, because it's a big old trail. Bears like to get in there and waller around, hence the name. It's a true story. You can Google that too. That is where I'm from. But I tell you again, all that to tell you this, back then when I started running, no one was doing it. I was an oddity in my hometown, and my dad was too. Now, my place in the middle of nowhere has a half marathon. Think about that. All of that was caused by the running boom and the new entry, everybody coming into this incredible sport after they had a Garmin and data that talked about what they did, analyzed what they did, and helped them feel really good about what they had just done. Unfortunately, then came Strava, and now they can compare what they did to everybody else they know, and it's all going sideways again. But I'll come back to that. So I tell you all of that to underscore the third thing. This is I'm about to talk about the magic workout, hence the name of the slide. The thing that, the one workout that's all of my runners know is their plan B. If you're having a bad day, if you can't follow the plan, if you don't know what to do, this is the workout you can come back to over and over and over again. It is the best thing you could possibly ask for. And it's the sort of thing you wouldn't necessarily have in your pocket if you had never had to build a runner from scratch before. Or if you were out there for performance and the idea of missing a workout why would you miss a workout? Don't you care about performance? I mean, you can have goals, you can want to be better, but realistically, mom's got a mom. When I'm on my run, it is the only time I'm not answering the call of mom and coworker and manager and all the other hats that I have to wear in my life. I am just on a run. Frankly, it's the only time I'm ever alone, especially these days. So I can't promise that life won't happen. Life's going to happen. What I can promise is that when it does, you're going to be prepared. So if we're not talking about pace and mileage, then what do we really care about here at Fitness Protection? How's that going to help you? What would you tell the runner who overslept to do? Here's what I'd tell them. Magic workout, avocado toast. Sexy, right? Gotta love that name. It's not eye candy, y'all. It's soul food, and so is this workout. It's not sexy. It's not glamorous. We live in a time when people get excited about specialization, overly so. All they want to talk about is the magic workout, the special sauce, the secret, which is why I have to use language like that to get people to show up to this webinar. Truly, really and truly, the magic workout is 30 to 60 minutes of moderate intensity. That means a heart rate cap, not a target, a cap. As long as you're under 140, I do not care how far underneath it you are. No one is measuring the variance there. No one. So moderate intensity, keep it under 140 for 30 to 60 minutes. That's jog. Jog for 30 to 60 minutes. Then at the end, throw in some strides. We got explanations in here too. And once you receive this as a PDF, you can click all over this page and it'll redirect to show you what a stride looks like, demonstrations, breaking everything down, as well as explanations on our Instagram account. The short answer is stride is all it does is wake up your fast twitch muscles. We don't need to worry. We're not sprinters like the guy on the slide earlier. We don't need to worry very much about our fast twitch muscles. We're just here for overall fitness. All you got to do is wake up the fast twitch muscles, and it doesn't take much to do that. A stride is sufficient. So, tell you this, runners always know what they're doing. They always have a plan. They have a plan A that they can choose to follow. They have a plan B when life happens, and life does happen, because all of my runners have a life, even if they, don't feel like it sometimes. So we don't treat their training plan like a tightrope that we could fall off of. It doesn't stress us out. It's something that we are very much in control of. We don't treat it like a patchwork quilt. We don't worry about the runs that we missed or trying to make things up. We know that no single run is more important than the other, and that workout that we really liked, we can add it in whenever we can, whenever we want. It's really easy. It is so easy to keep moving forward if you're not perpetually worried about being behind. And this is the thing that leads us to the big secret that y'all are here for. It's the secret to consistency. I'm telling you, you already have it. That quote right there, few things in this world impress me more than an adult who decides to take up running. I mean that. I started running when I was 6, you guys. How have I stuck with it for 35 years? Trauma. That's right, man. It was awful. There are better ways to develop a habit than scarring your soul with the wound that will never be healed. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. This isn't a good way to launch anything that you're truly going to want to connect with and enjoy. But running was the medicine that a cardiologist prescribed my dad after his heart attack, and no one really cared if I enjoyed it. And you might have guessed from all this energy right here, I was a pain in the butt. I was that really annoying person who was wide awake at 5 in the morning. So mom made me go with him, and that is how I got started. The quote on this screen is true, and you're going to hear me say this a lot too, because I will remind you whenever you need to hear it. You blow my mind, every single one of you, every single day. You're impressive as, and I mean that. I really do. Running has this big open door that that anyone can enter, right? No one knows what they're doing. A whole bunch of people are going to end up quitting. So how am I telling you that you're so awesome that you're going to be different? I'm not. I'm talking about the program and what's so awesome and how it's going to be a different experience that leverages everything that you're bringing to this table. I aim to bring something that's worthy of you. And the fact that you're here, even looking for something different, is proof that you're worthy and that you always have been. It's not you that failed. It's this industry that has failed you. So you can guess everything you need in that photo, here in this photo, coached and loved. Yay. It me. You know, even if you don't like the program and don't want to join, you can still buy our merch. We got a real nice neck gaiter right now. It says if you can read this, you're too close. So here is the formula for consistency. You need a reason to get out there, and you already have that. You had it when you signed up for this webinar. You need a plan to follow. Well, even if you don't sign up, you've got that. You've got avocado toast, and you know how you can do it 5 to 6 days a week. You've got a plan B when plan A doesn't work. You've got that too. You'll have links, again, on that slide that'll tell you if avocado toast just doesn't sound interesting, there are a couple of suggestions for you. Yep. So since this webinar is giving you basically everything you need, why build? Because build is what's going to keep you going. A coach to give you tailored specific advice. I'm very accessible and I'm in there all the time. And a supportive community of badasses just like you who are going to keep you going on those days that you don't want to, are going to understand the frustration on the day you can't get your run done. No one's going to judge you. I don't allow it. I'm very cautious about the language that's used in all the Facebook groups. Everyone is supportive and they always will be. Runners are normal humans, but we're not even a little bit ordinary. For 15 years, I ran alone doing avocado toast, just like the cardiologist said to, 6 days a week. Then I moved to a brand new city and I joined a run club because I didn't speak the language. This was in Tokyo. The people I met were amazing, but I don't even think I could find them on Facebook. We didn't have that back then either. These people were kind and supportive. Even when they didn't know the answers to my questions, they tried to help me find them. They really did. And it was harder to find information back then, you guys. You had to go to a library with a card catalog. Remember how different? There was no Google. Metacrawler, maybe. Lycos if you're lucky. Gosh, I'm old and I love it. So the secret to consistency, you see, is not about the running itself. Running is work, right? Y'all got a whole lot of work to do. You aren't here because this answer to laziness is more work. It doesn't work that way. And by the way, you're not lazy. You never were. What you're here for is the experience of being a runner, surrounded by runners and led by a runner who, by the way, knows what she's doing, connects with the material, and is invested in your ongoing development, making sure that this is a place that is worthy for you and that that space feels like yours, that you're owning everything that you do every day and counting your wins. I will make sure that you do not discount your own badassery ever. It's about having your place and knowing it and being secure in it and not worrying if it'll still be there for you or if you're still a runner because you aren't able to run for 2 days or even a couple months. Finally, the fun thing about having those two concentric circles, your running world, your running life, and then everything else, it's a space where you're not mom and you're not manager and you're not anywhere else. Your running friends don't know you in the same context as everything else in your life. It's the one place where even though you see these people all the time, they know you in a way that no one else ever will. It's really unique, it's really cool, and it's really special, even if you've never met in person. I haven't met a lot of my clients. Everything we do is virtual, but I know them inside and out. I know what's going on, and I know exactly how to motivate them because you can form these bonds online. It's real. It's all about the community and how it's fostered, and I'm here to make this as real and good of experience as I possibly can. I'm a little girl from the middle of nowhere who managed to keep friendships going before Facebook happened. I'm very good at navigating this online world. I'm also still, low-key the girl from, difficult Tennessee who's really excited about the online world, even cable television. We didn't have 3 channels back then. Y'all, your kids don't know how lucky you are in quarantine these days. So back on track, the secret to consistency, you might not ever love running, okay? That's all right. I don't care. But if you do it the way that I tell you to, the way that all of us do it in fitness protection, then running will not be a painful thing. It won't hurt you and break your body down. It will build your strength. It will build your confidence. And that is what's going to make it easier to keep showing up day after day, for this to become a lifelong hobby. It's not about the race. It's not about pressure or accountability or motivation. None of that. It's about something that feels good. Finding a part of you that you didn't know was there, a part that you don't have to share with the rest of the world if you don't want to, a thing that is uniquely yours and that is appreciated in this closed community that I've created. over time, you're going to find a way to connect with the run. Again, you might not love it, but you'll connect with it. You'll crave it. You'll look for excuses to do more of it because you're going to realize it's the only time that you're by yourself, the only time you are truly free. It's relaxation without distraction. It's the thing that keeps you tied to everyone that you think is cool, from the people in the Olympics to the people sprinting down a basketball court. Every amazing badass at some point runs, and that is what you do too. Then when the day comes, you'll understand what I've been saying all along, that you are just like them and that you belonged here all along. I am sorry there wasn't a place sooner, but we're going to fix it now. The proof of all of that is the fact that you're here, asking for more, doing the thing that most runners will never do, which is asking for help to do this right off the bat instead of insisting on doing it by yourself. You don't get a bigger medal for doing this alone, and you certainly don't have a better experience. You might be a normal human, but you are anything but ordinary. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, even if you never speak to me again. You have no idea what you're capable of, and I can't wait to show you. It's time to build. Program opens tomorrow, May the 1st. And if you sign up in the next 24 hours, you get a free one-on-one session with me. FaceTime, Zoom, or phone calls, whatever you prefer. Build's not going to open up again until the fall. We want to make this a really unique and exclusive experience for everyone comes through the door. I'm not exactly sure yet when the next one's going to open. We're thinking September, but again, there's a whole lot that's up in the air at the moment. So if you think you might want to build, now's the time to get in there and do that. You have 2 options for purchases. Both are up on the website. If you buy a year, then you're going to get 2 months for free. And if you feel like you are built sooner than that, you'll have no trouble transitioning into the other existing programs that we offer. You have everything that you need to start. You always did. And we have everything to keep you going for now and for life. Questions? Question and answer time. And when you receive this, you'll find all the ways to follow us, follow me, listen to the podcast Running Life. You can just get a little Coach MK in your ear once a week, sometimes twice when we have time. We're on Instagram. You can follow me personally and see more pictures of kids screaming at me because they do that a lot. I'm never quite meeting their standards. You can like our Facebook page. These are all the ways to find us. But one of my favorites, y'all, is Pinterest. Low key, Pinterest is fun. We've had a lot of fun making infographics. Go check out our Pinterest. So there's that. I'm going to end the share and hop back in. You want to start tomorrow? How do you start? Yay! Awesome. Okay, I'm in the Q&A portion, and I'm pulling over to Susan if there's more questions that I would have missed. If you're ready to start, we're going to fitnessprotection.com /plans-pricing, and you'll see both options for build right there. Go ahead. I will put that in the chat. Any other questions? I'm in the chat now watching it, and feel free. There's Link. I really do love questions. I'll answer them all day long. I do it once a week. Once a week on the podcast and both the live streams that we do on the Facebook pages. I'm there all the time. Live streaming is my favorite thing to do. Sweet. Is there anything else we needed to throw in, Susan?
I think we're pretty good. I do think it's good to mention.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to today's webinar. You now have the secrets to running for life. You have everything you need to start. Build has everything to keep you going. And really, who doesn't want a little bit more of this? Just not at 5 in the morning. I only do that to mama. Have a good day, y'all. If you missed this, we will be sending this around later for all the links and everything you need will be in there following this. I really appreciate your time and hope you have a great rest of your day.